Hello everyone and welcome to Capital Corner. Loudoun County, one of the most crucial swing counties in Northern Virginia, is at the heart of the political battleground for the 2024 elections. Today we are diving into the major issues shaping this race, from skyrocketing inflation and abortion rights to LGBT plus debates and the unique challenges facing South Asian and Muslim communities in the district. Joining us is Mike Clancy, candidate for Congress from Virginia's 10th district, who's here to tell us why he believes he's the right choice to represent this diverse community. We will get into the tough questions. Why should voters trust him? And how does he plan to defeat his opponent? Stay with us as we break down the pivotal issues that could shape the future of this district and beyond. So let's go and let's check it out. Thank you, Mr. Mike Clancy, for joining me on the show. Let's start with one of the most pressing issues of 2024 elections, inflation and economy. So you know that inflation has been a top concern for many Americans, especially as the cost of living rises. What specific measure do you propose to combat inflation and stabilize the economy, particularly for middle-class families and small businesses in Northern Virginia?
Yes, well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on your program, and thank you to all your audience, the millions of folks who follow you and are watching this today. So I'm Mike Clancy. I'm the Republican nominee for Congress for Virginia's 10th Congressional District, and my mission is restore America. And a key priority for restoring America is the economy. I was at the Prince William County Fair a few weeks ago, and I talked to a single mom, 2 teenage sons. And I was chatting with her and asked her for her what was the most important issue. And she said buying groceries. And as we all know, groceries are up roughly 25 to 30%. Many people are using credit cards to pay for those groceries, and those credit card interest rates are in the 25 to 30% range as well. We're seeing a lot of credit card delinquency. We're seeing a slowing job market. People are struggling. And so for the economy, there are three things I would highlight. First, the government's $1 trillion spending sprees over the last 4 years have spiked inflation. Every economist has said the government spending fuels inflation. That's how the government steals your wealth. It's through inflation. And it doesn't matter which party, even Obama's Treasury Secretary warned that those spending bills would spike inflation. And, Kamala Harris voted the tie-breaking vote to pass that legislation. The second issue has to do with energy. The cost of energy drives everything. And the Biden-Harris administration from day one has put a stranglehold on American energy. They shut down the Keystone Pipeline. They restricted the permits for oil and gas. They've stopped new permits for natural gas. And that has created driving energy costs. We've seen gasoline prices go up. We've seen just your day-to-day energy costs have increased for your home. And the price of energy drives the economy, drives the cost of everything. So we need to unleash American energy, reestablish energy independence. American energy independence, I like to say, is all American energy and all of the above energy strategy. And that will help bring down energy costs, which will in turn help inflation. Third, we have to get the government out of the way. Over the last 4 years, burdensome regulations have just piled on business and especially impeded small business and medium-sized business. We need to come in and do a comprehensive review, strip down those regulations, and unleash American business. And those three things I think are absolutely critical. The fourth element I'll touch on is the budget process. The budget process is broken. These continuing resolutions are tough on the economy. They're tough on business. In this 10th district in Loudoun County, we have a lot of folks who work with the federal government, who work with contractors who work for the federal government. They're working, a lot of them, in the technology space. And these continuing resolutions are very disruptive to business and very disruptive to contractors who are trying to work with the government and pay their costs and pay their employees. So we need to get back to a normal standard budget process where business can rely on the government getting its budget in place and not this endless cycle of continuing resolutions. So those are 4 things I'd highlight that we can directly address on the economy.
Perfect answer. Thank you for your response. So let's move to another hot button issue in the upcoming elections, and obviously that is abortion. And I know for sure that Republicans have faced challenges in the past election due to their stance on this issue. So, as you know, that abortion is one of the most polarizing issues in this election, and you have stated that it should be left to the state to decide. Can you explain why you believe state level governance is the best solution for such a controversial issue?
I think exactly because it is controversial, because there are so many different views across the country. I think the Supreme Court got it right in the Dobbs decision by referring it back to the states and letting the voters of each individual state decide for their state how they want to approach the abortion legislation. And we've seen that play out across the country with different states voting different ways. And in Virginia voters have spoken on abortion. Virginia actually happens to have a very liberal abortion law. So I think that's the right place for abortion. I think, on the other hand, my opponent in this race and the Democrat Party is pushing for unlimited abortion all the way up until the moment of birth and full taxpayer funding, and they're pushing to federalize the abortion issue and have Congress intervene. And I think that is the wrong way to go. The Congress should not override the states. We shouldn't have members of Congress from California telling Virginians what to do on abortion. We should let Virginians decide what Virginians want to do on abortion, just like we should let every other state decide what they want to do on abortion. Again, for exactly the point you just made, it's a controversial issue. And when our founders envisioned the Constitution, they envisioned that the state, that's exactly what would happen, that the states would each be their own sovereign entity, and they would each kind of decide these controversial issues for themselves. So we should let the voters decide in each state.
So, Mr. Clancy, I have a lot of questions, and all my questions are either controversial or they are sensitive topics. So let's address another sensitive topic, particularly for South Asian, Muslim, Pakistani Americans. You know that Loudoun County has seen heated debate about LGBT plus rights, particularly concerning transgender students' access to girls' bathrooms and locker rooms. What is your stance on this issue, and how do you balance parental concerns?
So I have been at the forefront of these issues. I have been down to the school board many, many times with parent groups, fighting for parents' rights, fighting to protect our children, all the way back through the whole COVID issue, all the way back to when Glenn Youngkin was elected, and we had the whole parents' rights movement, the Parents Matters movement. And I think that's right. I mean, I think parents do matter. Parents have the ultimate decision-making authority for the education and care of their children. And I've been steadfast in fighting for those rights. And, my opponent has been the exact opposite. So there was legislation that would require schools to notify parents about sexually explicit material in the classroom and give parents the right to opt their child out when it violates their religious belief or their values. My opponent voted against that law. I support full transparency, and I fully support the right of a parent to opt their child out of those programs when it conflicts with the parents' religious beliefs and the parents' values, what they're trying to teach your children. Monsieur, I hear this from religious groups all across Loudoun County. Christian groups, Egyptian Coptic Christian groups, Latino communities, the Muslim community. I've been to the mosques many, many times. And this is what upsets them, is that they want to have they believe as a parent, they have the right to raise their child based on their religious beliefs and their values. And I say that's absolutely right. My opponent has pushed the transgender agenda. He's voted to allow boys into girls' bathrooms and girls into boys' bathrooms. And I oppose that. We have to protect the privacy and the security of our children in school, and that means, separate sex bathrooms. There was also legislation to protect girls' sports that would have provided that boys could not participate in girls' sports, and that law would have covered elementary school and middle school and high school sports here in Virginia, and my opponent voted against that law. So in every step of the way, he's voted against protecting our children, voted against parents' rights in all those different areas. And that is a dramatic difference between the two of us, because I have been working with the Muslim community down at the school board, with the Muslim community, advocating to get these rules changed so that we can protect our children and give parents the ability to raise their children based on their values and their religious beliefs.
You talk about your opponent, and I know that your opponent has taken a strong stance on key issues like reproductive rights and economic policies. So let me ask you, what sets you apart And why do you believe you are a better choice than your opponent, Mr. Swat Subramaniam, in the 10th district?
Yeah, we're first of all, we're completely different types of perspectives. I'm a business leader, senior vice president with a global technology company. So I bring, like Governor Youngkin, I bring the business expertise, and I look at government to be efficient and effective and to deliver results, right? And my opponent's a career politician. He has an extreme liberal voting record, and we've talked a little bit about how he voted on school issues and children's issues, but also even on economic issues. He votes for tax increases. He's voted to raise the gasoline tax multiple times, and that gasoline tax impacts every single person who drives a car. If you're pumping gas into your car, you're paying more on taxes because of my opponent. He and his party have made multiple increases to the gasoline tax, which only makes it more expensive when we've had all these price increases and inflation. And then he voted against Republicans pushing for tax relief. So Republicans wanted to eliminate the car tax, and he voted against eliminating the car tax. Republicans wanted to double the standard deduction for Virginia taxpayers, which would help every low-income and middle-income family, and he voted against that bill. So that's where we differ. If I was in the state legislature, I'd be supporting eliminating the car tax, and I'd be working to help low-income, middle-income Americans by doubling that standard deduction. Because if you don't itemize, the standard deduction is all you get. So that would have been tremendous relief for families, especially with all the inflation that's been going on, if we could have doubled the standard deduction for those families. So, on tax policy, we're vastly different. Also on energy policy, we're vastly different. He voted for the EV mandate. I'm all for electric vehicles, but it should be your free choice whether you drive an electric vehicle. First of all, they're very expensive. Most Virginians can't afford to buy one to begin with. But he's voted multiple times for that electric vehicle mandate. He's voted to subject Virginia to California's EPA laws, and I think that's just wrong. We shouldn't be having our state governed by California. Virginians should govern themselves, and Virginia should make its own decisions and not tie our energy policy to California, especially since California's been a bit of a disaster, right? There've been 300,000 people have fled that state over the last 2 years, and their energy policies have left them with a regular cycle of brownouts and blackouts. So they have a dysfunctional energy policy. We need to follow the example of Governor Youngkin and all the above energy policy, where we're using natural gas, we're working on small nuclear reactors as a new energy source, especially for data centers, right? We're here in Loudoun County, we have a heavy technology business base, both on data centers and both with contractors. And that's a key foundation. We need the energy to power those data centers, to power our technology economy. And the research that's going on with the small modular reactors, and I've seen that now Google is looking at geothermal energy. There's research going on new hydrogen batteries, and all those would be those are the type of all the above energy approach we need to take, because we're not going to power our economy on windmills and solar farms. That's just, they're not sustainable. They're not consistent, right? So those are kind of some of the key differences between where I am and where my opponent is.
As you mentioned that you're an entrepreneur and you have technology background, that job creation is vital for the economy in Loudoun County. So what specific initiative do you propose to stimulate job growth and support local businesses?
Yeah, so the first one is relieving the regulatory burdens and impediments to starting a business. I had lunch the other day with a chief technology growth officer with a companies, and it's a small, medium-sized company. And he said his major challenge right now is that his costs of regulatory compliance, his cost of lawyers and accountants and all those people that make sure he's compliant as a government contractor have increased 5-fold over the last 3.5 years. And then when you're a small, medium-sized business, that's a real struggle to try to manage that and keep your employees fully working and make them and turn a profit, right? Which ultimately what business is trying to do is succeed. So I think we want to relieve that regulatory burden. I think tax policy is important to incentivize business. The Harris administration is proposing massive tax increases that will impact every business. Raising the minimum corporate tax from 21 to 28%, as Harris is proposing. That's a 35% increase. That'll be devastating to business, to corporations, and it would be the highest tax rate of around the world in developed nations. So we would be, our U.S. companies would be taxed higher than European competitors and Asian competitors, which would again impact our ability to compete globally. So I think tax policy is also important. The regulatory burden and tax policy are two areas that we can work on to help incentivize and innovation and entrepreneurship.
You know, the many voters in the South Asian and Muslim communities are expressing dissatisfaction with the Biden and Harris administration due to the ongoing war in Gaza. Given the complexities of Israel-Palestine conflict, what specific diplomatic measure do you believe the U.S. should take to foster peace and stability in the region? Additionally, how would you ensure that Muslim communities are actively involved in these discussions?
So absolutely, we've got a complex situation going on in the Middle East. We now have, Hezbollah involved and Houthis are involved, Iran's involved. So it just is a hot, complex area of the world. And I think we need strong American leadership. Reagan talked about peace through strength, bringing strong leadership from the United States. And I think the goal should be end the wars. Let's put an end to the killing of innocent lives on all sides, and let's get to a enduring peace. 4 years ago, we had good stability in the Middle East. We were working on the Abraham Accords, and we had that stability. And then when things transitioned over to the Biden administration, all of that fell apart. And now we've evolved into these conflicts with multiple countries involved, very complex, but we need strong American leadership to drive to end the wars. Let's stop the killing of all innocent life on all sides, and let's work the parties to an enduring peace along the path that we started on 4 years ago with the Abraham Accords.
My last question is, the Muslim and South Asian voters are critical in Northern Virginia area, especially in Loudoun County. Why should they trust you with their vote? And how do you plan to address their concern? Why should they vote for you? Why not Sohad Subramanian? Why you?
Well, so for all the issues that I just mentioned, we do have dramatic differences when it comes to parents and children, the economy and business, right? But also, more importantly, I've been engaged with the community. And not just recently, I've been working with the Muslim community, going to the mosques for many times, to engage, to speak at the end of the prayer groups, to meet with people individually, to engage across the entire Muslim community, the Pakistani community, at Adams Center, and all the different locations for Adams Center, talking to the same, likewise over in Prince William. So I think what I'm doing is to build the relationships so that they know because to me, as the congressman for this district, you represent everybody. You have to represent all the different groups. And it's very important as the congressman to know the people and to engage with the people and be with the people and be at the mosques and hear their views, right? And I've been working very, very closely across a number of different groups within the Muslim community to engage, listen, to be down at the school board with them when they would, as they challenge what's going on in the schools, to support them in that effort, to speak for them at those school board meetings. My opponent has not been there. My opponent has not been down at the school board fighting for the Muslim community and fighting for the Muslim parents. I have. And so I think actions speak louder than words, and through my actions and being at the school board, fighting for parents, fighting and working with the Muslim parents on those issues, I think that shows them that I am committed to the community and will continue to be committed to the community once elected to Congress. And I'll be there. My door will be open, and I will rely on the key leaders in the Muslim community to be trusted advisors on these issues. That's why I'm trying to build these relationships now, so that when I'm in Congress, it'll be an open door, and they'll have complete access to make sure that their voices are being heard. And I'll continue the fight in Congress. I'll continue the fight for parents' rights legislation, so that they can have the ability to raise their children the way in accordance with their religious beliefs and values.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mike Clancy, for coming into my show. Friends, that wraps up another episode of Capital Corner. A big thank you to Mike Clancy for his insights. As the 2024 elections approach, remember, your vote matters. Stay informed, stay engaged, and thank you for tuning in. God bless you, and may God bless United States of America. Thank you, Mr. Clancy, for coming into my show. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and make sure everybody you get out to vote. And it's so important. If you want to make a difference, you want to change what's happening in this country, please absolutely get out to vote.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right.